Good morning. So I welcome once again all the students for software testing session number 10. Yes. So we are discussing about software testing. In the last class, we have discussed about different testing life cycle models, testing the system, and testing strategies. What we discussed. So as we discussed, there are basically two types of strategies are there: static testing and what you call with dynamic testing. Yes, static testing as well as dynamic testing. Is it audible now?
Yes, sir.
You can hear me. It's fine. Yes. So two strategies are there: the static and dynamic testing. Today, yesterday we discussed about static testing. So as you know, static testing is nothing but testing which is done what you can call manually without any executing the program. We test it. We call that as static testing. Without executing the program, we do testing. We call that as a static testing. That. And the second type is dynamic testing, where dynamic testing we execute the program. By executing the program, we can come to know the output of the program. So we can know the bugs. So that is what we call dynamic testing. For static testing also there are tools are available, and dynamic testing also there are tools are available. So these are the two strategies what we need to discuss. So yesterday we discussed about static testing. Today we're going to discuss about dynamic testing. So the topics what we're going to discuss in today's class are dynamic testing, why testing is difficult, what do you mean by test case, what do you mean by test oracle, yes, test oracle and test software. So these are the things what we're going to discuss in today's class. That's fine. These are the topics. Fine. Next, first, what do you mean by dynamic testing? In dynamic testing, the code is executed and tested. The code is compiled, executed with test inputs. Then the actual results are matched or compared with the expected results. Then software is considered as okay. As you do in your labs, yes, when you're executing the program, you enter the input and you just check the output. Whether the output is right or not. So that is the way of doing dynamic testing, what you call. So in dynamic testing, the code is executed and tested. We execute the code, we compile the code. When you compile, we come to know any bugs are there. Yes. So if any bugs or errors are there, we remove that errors. Then if there are no errors, then we execute it. So when you execute, we need to enter the input for that. And based on the input, it will generate the output. Now the output generated by the program, we're going to compare whether it is right or not. So it is compared with the actual results or expected results. So if it is right, then that means your software is what you can call working correctly. That is what we call this type of testing. We call that as a dynamic testing. What you can call. Is it clear? So in dynamic testing, the code is executed and tested. The code is compiled, executed with test inputs. Then the actual results are matched with the expected results. Then software is considered as okay, what you can call it, or is correct, what you can call it. Yes, fine. Next. One example is that consider a program to find the square root of a given number. First, the program has to be written and then it should be executed. Some numbers should be given as input and check whether getting the correct result or not. Yes. Example, the inputs are, so we want to find the square root of 12, some fraction value 3.4 something we get. 16, square root of 16 is what you can call 4. Square root of 32, maybe 5 some fraction value, something 5.3 or 4 something. Then 0, can you find the square root of 0? No. Can you find square root of negative number? No, we cannot find. So this is an example. Now for this program, how to do testing, you can see. So for this, we can test with all the, so 3 types of values will be there. All positive numbers, all negative numbers, and the number is 0. When you enter a negative number, your program should give a message immediately that the numbers are invalid or square roots cannot be found out for negative integers. Yes, and 0, when you enter 0, you can say that 0 is an invalid number. Like that. So you should, these are the different test cases, what you call positive numbers, negative numbers, as well as the 0 there. So you need to test for all such type of numbers there. So that is what you would do in the case of dynamic testing there. We'll see this, what happens. So the inputs are given. This, for example, the program should give correct value for positive numbers. Yes, it should give the correct value for positive numbers. Like for example, for 16, the square root is 4, as we know. If the input is 0, the answer should also be 0 there. You cannot find the square root of 0 there, so it should be 0 order. Then again, if the input is negative number, then your program should display a message, please enter or give only positive numbers. That's what. So your program should be interactive one. So it should take only the allowed values Suppose if you enter character by mistake, you enter some character, it should not accept it. It should give a message that character is not allowed. Can you find the square root of character? No, it's not possible. So it should prompt all such type of messages. In dynamic testing, software has to be checked for valid as well as invalid inputs. So in dynamic testing, the input is not to just check the the expected results. Should also check for invalid values also. Sometimes your program may accept invalid values. For example, in your ATM, you're having 5,000, and can you withdraw 10,000? No, you cannot withdraw. It should immediately give a message that the insufficient funds, something like that. So because of that, in dynamic testing, we need to test for valid values as well as invalid values. You need to test them. Software should give appropriate error message there. So if you enter invalid values, you should give a message that the value, these are the invalid values, enter valid values, or enter the numbers, positive numbers, or enter the numbers between some range or something. You can do that. Is it that way? You can do it. It's fine. This is an example for dynamic testing. Dynamic testing, you need to test for positive values or valid values as well as invalid values. You need to test them. Not only for any program, whenever you're doing testing, it should always test for valid as well as invalid values. What do you call that? Yes, fine. Next, in dynamic testing, the code is executed and the test inputs are given. So what we do? So in the dynamic testing, when we execute the code, we need to give the input. So when you give the input, you may get the output there. So, and that output is compared with the expected results. The actual results are compared with expected results. How many types of test input that has to be given is the major issue there. So how many inputs you should give? 1, 2, or 5 or 10, whatever. There should be some restrictions there, or there should be some numbers. Simply if you go on giving, so it's very difficult to identify how many inputs should be given there. But see here, all possible inputs should be given while testing the software. So what are maybe 2-digit number, maybe 3-digit number, or 4-digit, 5-digit, and so on, whatever. So you should test for all possible values. You should test it there. So how many should be there? We doesn't know. It will be very difficult. We'll see the example. We'll continue that. So what are you going to do in the dynamic testing? Why testing is difficult? Because we need to find how many values, when we should stop. If we go on enter possible values, there are so many possible values are there. Then when to stop that? So that is why, because of that, we say testing is difficult. In dynamic testing, the code is executed and the test inputs are given. The actual results are compared with the expected results. Then how many types of test input that has to be given is the major issue. All possible inputs should be given while testing the software. Yes, next. Yes. Why testing is difficult? So here, see, we call the one type of testing we call exhaustive testing. As I told you in the previous slide, we discussed all possible values. How many possible values are there? 10, 20, 100, 1000. It's very difficult. We doesn't know when to stop it. There will be so many possible values are there. Yes. So here we call exhaustive testing. What is exhaustive testing? In exhaustive testing, all possible inputs are given to check whether the program works correctly. What we are going to do? All possible values, maybe 2-digit numbers, or 3-digit numbers, or 4-digit, and so on. Yes, we check all possible inputs are given to check whether the program works correctly. Exhaustive testing is time consuming and practically impossible for larger programs. So to give all the possible inputs, maybe for smaller program, it's okay. But for larger programs, it is very, very difficult. You cannot have what you can call large number of values, possible values. There will be 1000 values. So you can't check for 1000 values. So this becomes a very difficult one. So exhaustive testing becomes practically impossible for larger programs. Software has to be tested only by giving some selected inputs which are likely to find the bugs in the software. So what we should do? The software should be tested where there are more chances of getting error there. Yes, where there are chances of error are there. The more chance of getting error, So such values you should enter it. Software has to be tested only by giving selected inputs which are likely to find the bugs in this. You should give inputs such a way that your software should generate the error there, or it should show you the bugs there. Like as I told you, in negative numbers. When you enter negative numbers for the same program, that is finding the roots of equation, immediately your software should give a message from invalid numbers. It should give like that. So you should, or suppose you are written you use what again integer. Suppose you try to give a long integer, immediately your software should give a message invalid number, or a range is invalid, something like that. That's what. So you should test the numbers where your software will find the bugs for you. Yes, fine. Yes, one more example. So consider a program which takes three numbers. So you want to find a side of a type of a triangle based on the sides. For example, if all the sides of a triangle are equal, we can call equilateral triangle. The two sides are same. What we call? We can call that as a, what is that? If the different side, all the three sides are the same, we call equilateral triangle. Yes. And if the three sides are different, we may call it a scalene triangle. Yes, the different type combinations are there. Two sides may be equal, or three sides may be different, or all are equal. You'll see that is what when you enter the sides of a triangle, whether the values, whatever you are going to enter, whether they're going to find, they're going to form a triangle or not, we're going to check that. So consider the program here, which takes three numbers for three sides of a triangle as input. Check whether whatever the sides you enter, they form a triangle or not. For testing this program, different combinations of input should be given there, and check whether the program is working correctly or not. So all the same, two same, as well as what you can call three values should be different. That's what we need to check. We'll just see the example and check whether the program is working correctly or not. The input that has to be given for testing the program as follows. See what are the different types of values we should enter there. So giving correct input number, see all the sides may not form a triangle. So you should give correct values for that. There will be some formula to calculate the area, what you call, what you can call to form the triangle there. So first set of values is giving correct inputs, numbers which form a triangle. Next, giving wrong inputs which do not form a triangle. Second case or second test case, what you call. Third one, in correct inputs, the numbers can be integers, floating point numbers, or combination of both should be given. See. So first is correct values you should enter, second wrong values, and when the correct values are there, some are floating values and some are integer, only floating, and combination of all those things. Like that, you should find. See, there's so many set of values are there. So in this way, you need to test it there. We'll see again. Yes, for example, then again, in integers again, small integers, 2 digits or 3 digits. Again, large integers in this way should be given as input. Again, input with 1 or 2 zeros. One side as 0 or two side as 0, or all side as 0. Or give character as input, what you call. The character as give what you call A. A is the side of a triangle. It should not accept like this. These are all the possible values what we should enter. Then see small integers. That's what. So large number of input, give character as input. The same thing. Small integers 10, 12, 13, etc. should be given input with 1 or 2 zeros, and all zeros should be given as input and give character as input. Then large number of input data has to be given for testing this program. See now what happened. So there are so many types of values. Which are the different types of values you need to give? Can somebody tell me here for this small program to test the what you call the by entering the three sides of triangle? How many types of values you should give? Can you tell me somebody? Which are the values you need to give as you discussed here? Can somebody tell me which are the types of values for the triangle you should give? First type of values is give
integers or floating point numbers.
No, first one is correct inputs. First test case. What type of values? First you should enter correct inputs. Second test case.
Wrong inputs.
Wrong inputs. Yes or no? Wrong input. Second one is wrong. First one is correct inputs. Second one is wrong inputs. Third one.
If the inputs are correct, the numbers can be integers, floating point numbers, or combination of both.
Yeah. If now you are given correct inputs, again in correct input, what type? You should give integers, floating point numbers, and combination of both. Again, next, again. So again in integers, what type?
Small integers, large integers.
Yeah, again in integers there are different types are there. Small integers you should give and large integers you should give. Then again with 0, 1 0, then 2 0 and 3 0, and again a character as input. See, there are so many types of values are there for just a small program to test what you call to form, where we are going to check whether you enter the three sides of a triangle, whether the sides when you enter, whether it is going to form a triangle or not. For a small program, we need to enter so many types of values there. See, first is correct values, wrong values. When you enter correct values, integer and float. Yes, again, and in integer, small integers, large integers. Again, with 1 0, 2 0, or 3 all zeros, or with the character, or with the input of data. So for testing a small program, what you call it takes almost 2 hours to give all possible combination and make sure the program is okay. For small program, just to test whether by entering the sides of a triangle, whether you form the sides form a triangle or not. To test this small program, it is taking 2 hours. Small program, small, just to entering the values and checking. If the program is some large, it may take hours together or days together. We'll see that. Yes. So now because of this, so just for as you consider example, just for small program to do testing, it is taking 2 hours. So hence, because of this, testing is difficult. We say because. Why? For following reason. Why? What are the reasons? Software has to be tested for both right and wrong inputs and check the functionality as well as the performance parameters. What do you need to check? So you should check for right values, wrong values, whether it is going to give the correct result or functionality, and performance. It should give you immediate result. It should not, your program should not wait for 1 hour to generate the output. That should not performance, what you call. Then the input should be given in such a way that each and every line of the code is tested. So the values, whatever you enter, it should ensure that all the lines of your program has to be executed. Is it clear? No line should be skipped. Yes. Then the random input should be given and check whether software works properly or not. Yes. Why testing is difficult? Because, just somebody read these following points.
Testing is difficult because software has to be tested for both right and wrong inputs and check the functionality as well as the performance parameters. The input should be given in such a way that each and every line of the code is tested. The random input should be given and check whether software works properly or not.
So because of this, for this following parameter, what you call points, we say that what you can call the testing is difficult. We call this as a exhaustive testing also. Then some other points relating to testing. The software is tested as a normal user using it and check whether the necessary error messages, help, etc. are provided. So in your software, there should be a prompts. If there are any invalid values, it should give a message, invalid number, enter only positive numbers, or enter only integers, or enter only floating point, whatever it related to your program. So it should give proper messages, and there should be always a help file there. Any program, whatever you develop, there should be a help file. Why? Because you're developing a program for somebody else, your customer or a client. He may not be doing anything. So you should provide always a help file should be there, always. Then software has to be tested in different hardware and software environment, different operating system, different computers. For example, your software may work in your system, and the same software may not work in the client machine there or client computer. You should test for different hardware, different operating system, Windows 10, Linux, or whatever it is, iOS, whatever it is. Or if you want to you want to use the software, it should be like nowadays you're using apps. So mobile app, your software should be able to access mobile also, what you can call it. Yes, like that. So the software has to be tested in different hardware and software environment, and software has to be tested for functional as well as non-functional requirement. Yesterday we have seen what are the different types of functional and non-functional requirement. So it has to be tested for functional and non-functional requirements. Whereas non-functional requirements, there are so many types, all may not be applicable. Whichever they are applicable for that particular program, only those need to be tested, what you call. So you need to test what you call the functional as well as non-functional requirement. Yes. So that is about your exhaustive testing, or we call that why testing is difficult. Yes, fine. Read these points, somebody.
Test case. The software is tested as a normal user using it and check whether the necessary error messages, helps, etc. are provided. Software has to be tested in different hardware and software environment. Software has to be tested for functional and non-functional requirement.
Yes. So that is about your testing. Why testing is difficult, what you have seen so far. Now we're going to discuss about what do you mean by a test case. So test case and all those other terms we're going to discuss. When testing a particular specification of software, a certain inputs to be the software should be given. As I told you, for example, the same program, if you consider what is that, the triangle program, the integers, only integers as one test case we can call, only floating point as one test case, correct values as one test case, what do you call wrong values as one test case. So like that. So what are the different types of values we give? We call that as a test case. When testing a particular specification of software, certain inputs to the software should be given. For these test inputs, some output are expected. Whenever we give some value input, always the output will be generated. The output may be correct or may not be wrong. Maybe that depends on your values. The software will produce some output, that is actual output. The expected result and the actual result will be same if the software is working as per the design. If the software is working correctly or you written the program correctly, then your expected result and the actual result both will be same. Whatever the values you give, we call that as a test case, what you call it. Yes, whatever the values we give and it is generating the output, or it may be correct or it may be wrong. So we call that as a test case, what you call it. Yes, somebody read these points.
Pardon me.
Test case, read these points. Yes, somebody read these points.
When testing a particular specification of software, certain inputs to the software should be given. For these test inputs, some output, the expected result are expected. The software will produce some output, the actual output. The expected result and the actual result will be the same if the software is working as per the design.
If your software design is right, then the output generated, whatever will be right, what you call. Yes, fine. Yes, fine. Next. Before giving the test inputs, the software will be in a particular state. That where now you written the program, for example, you are not given any inputs for that. Yes, so we call that state as one state we can call. So before giving the test input, the software will be in a particular state. This initial state is described by as entry criteria. What we call whenever before entering the program, before entering the inputs for the program, we call that state as a entry criteria. After testing, the software will go to another state. This state is described as a exit criteria, we can call. What is it? Entry criteria. Before entering the values to the program, it is in a state, we call that as a entry state. And after entering the values, the program will be executed and it will generate the output. So we call that as an exit criteria, what you call. That is an exit criteria, we call this. After executing the program, it will be executed. We call that as an exit criteria. So entry criteria and exit criteria. Yes, we'll see. So a test case consists of what are these? First one is entry criteria. That is the preconditions before the test inputs are given. So before you give the input values, we call that state as a entry criteria. Then after entering the test inputs, the program will be executed and then it will generate the output. So we call that as a exit criteria. The post condition after the test inputs are executed. When you input the values, your program will execute and will generate the output. So we call that as a exit criteria. Then the last one is the expected results. So two criteria: before executing, entry criteria; after executing, exit criteria. So a test case consists of two things. That's fine. You can see in the diagram here. See here. So this is your program, your executable program what you want to execute. So before executing, it is in a state called as entry criteria. Now, when you give the input, the program will be executed and then it will generate the output. So it is in a state called as a exit criteria and it will generate the results. So this is what do you call the two states of a test case: entry criteria and exit criteria. Yes. Test a program. For example, one example we're going to discuss here. Test a program that takes a file name as input, opens the file, writes today's date into the file, and closes the file. The test, see, we want one simple example of discussing here. What you're doing, test a program that takes a file name as input. It should take a name of a file, for example, here. How you're going to test it. Opens the file, write today's date into the file, and closes the file. The test case can be defined as follows. What is that? How it's going to do? The test case can be defined as follows. So input should be file name, any file name, for example, abc.c. So entry criteria is what? The file abc.c should not exist in the current directory. The file should not exist initially because you want to open it. You want to open the new file, it has to be opened there. So what is the entry criteria? The file abc.c should not exist in the current directory then. Next, expected output, the file abc should be in the current directory with the contents in today's date. When you execute it, what should be there in the file? In that file, today's date should be written there. That is what. So that is expected output. Exit criteria, the program should terminate without errors. The file abc.c should be available in the current directory, whichever directory you are there. So your file should be stored there. The file first entry criteria, the file should not be there. Yes. What is expected output? The program, the expected output should be the file should be opened in a current directory, and it should have the current date, what you call. And what is the exit criteria? The program should terminate without any errors. That is what this is how an example, a test case for a particular file, what you call. This is the entry criteria, that is the exit criteria, what you call. That's fine. Yes. Next, see how to run the test case. So select a particular test case, execute the test case, and analyze the test result. So this we call testing process using test cases. Like as I told you for the triangle program, yes, select all correct values, execute that and test it. All wrong values, one set of values, execute and test it. Or integer values, floating point values. So different types of test cases will be available. Yes, fine. Then testing process using test cases, same thing. A number of test cases are selected. The program is executed, results are compared with the estimated results. Designing the test case is challenging for test engineers. So identifying the test cases, what type of values. For simple program, for triangle program, we require almost what you call 2 hours. Yes, for example, for a square root program, it requires 2 hours. So to identify the different types of test cases is very, very challenging task for test engineers, what you call. So test cases have to be designed based on 2 criteria. We call that as reliability and validity. Yes, what is that we discuss? A set of test cases is considered to be reliable if it detects all errors. What do you mean by reliability? When a test case which will detect all the errors, we call that test case as reliable. A set of test cases is considered as valid if at least one test case finds the errors. So a test case which finds one error, we call that as a valid test case. Then test engineer should find as many defects as possible with minimum number of test cases. What is the aim of test engineer? The aim of test engineer to find many defects with minimum number of test cases. Having 1000 test cases and finding 2 is a waste. With 2 or 3 test cases, find 100. That is a good test case, what you call it. So test engineer should find as many defects as possible with minimum number of test cases. You need not have large test cases. Test cases should be minimum, but you won't have more number of defects. Test engineers should minimize the test cases and find the defects fast. As early as possible, they need to find the defects. Then what do you mean by test case as pesticide paradox? Pesticide paradox is nothing but, like, for example, we'll discuss, for example, in your home, usually we use what you call mosquito repellents and all that, something like that. What we do, we keeping on changing it. Yes, for example, we may use Goodnight for 2 months, then you may use Mortein or whatever it is, whichever company is there, you may use it. We keep on changing. Why? Because the mosquitoes or insects, they get immune to that particular medicines. So same case here also, what you can call. So we keeping on changing that. So here also same thing we call pesticide paradox. So what is pesticide paradox? In 1990, Boris Bezer used the phrase pesticide paradox to describe an interesting phenomenon in testing. When same set of test cases is used for testing software, the defects cannot be detected. So if you use the same test cases for every program, it may not identify the defects. So what we do, we may change the test cases. So this we call as a pesticide paradox. This is similar to using the same pesticide again and again. The insects get immune to it. If you use the same pesticide, so what happens? The insects get immune to it. So we keeping on changing the what we call pesticide. Same way here also, we need to change the test cases so that the software can identify the bugs. The software gets immune to it. The test case should be continuously changed. So this we call as a pesticide paradox. What we call this? Fine. Yes, the time is running out. So here we shall stop at this point. Test case as pesticide paradox. Other topics, that is what test case or defect clustering, will continue in the next class. We need to, some other things are there. We'll discuss that in other class. Yes. So we shall stop at this point as test case paradox. So what is this test case paradox? The pesticide paradox is nothing but the software will get immune to the particular software. Yes. So because of that, we need to change the test cases. What you call. Is it clear? Yes. Fine. So we shall stop at this point. Any doubts so far? Any doubts so far in these topics?
No, sir.
Okay, then we shall stop at this point. So again, from here, I'll be continuing the same class tomorrow from here, the following topics, and again, the next session I'll continue as usual. Okay, fine then. Thank you, one and all that. Yes, fine.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.